Hi everyone, welcome to the session. Congratulations on taking your first step towards learning about the most buzzing word in today's world, which is generative AI. You can see that every stakeholder in the ecosystem is talking about generative AI, be it technologists or celebrities or entrepreneurs or even governments and politicians are also talking a lot about generative AI. And it is present across all digital platforms as well, be it on Twitter or Instagram or Reddit. And even in the offline segment as well, you can see that every newspaper today is talking about generative AI. And on a Sunday at 10 a.m. in the morning, you decided to learn about generative AI. You decided to spend about 3 hours of your time to learn about generative AI. In spite of lot of distractions around you, be it like platforms like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or OTT platforms where you can watch movies or you can play games like PUBG or you can go hang out with your friends. So there are a lot of distractions around you. In spite of that, you are committed towards learning generative AI to make a progress in your career or make a progress in your life. This shows your commitment, and this commitment is going to take you a far ahead in your journey of your career or in your life. It doesn't matter what's your intellectual capability or which college you are from. As long as you're committed towards your own growth, that takes you far ahead in your journey. In short term, there could be some people who are more intellectual than you, who are more ahead in the journey. But as long as you are this committed towards your own progress, I think in long term, all it matters is this commitment towards your progress. And as you are committed to learning and your own progress on a Sunday by spending this amount of time, we want to make sure that we give the best experience possible for you. So for the same reason, we have been consulting tech professionals from top IT firms, as well as we have been consulting top researchers in the generative AI domain. And we have been asking them what's the best that we could give to our students to make sure that they learn the best during this 3 hours of session. And with all the inputs that we have received, so we have crafted this 3 hours of workshop to make sure that you start your journey from zero and you end your journey of these 3 hours by building a generative AI application and deploying it. And you can showcase it to lot of your friends, family, as well as to your cousins who are already being software developers. And you'll notice one thing: most of your cousins or most of the software developers, right from freshers to even most senior, most level software developers who are 20 years or 30 years into the industry also, most of them, at least 99% of them, do not know about how to go about building generative AI applications. And you'd be surprised that with whatever things that you're going to learn in this 3 hours of workshop, so more than 99% of the software developers are not aware about the things what you are going to learn today. And I'm sure that once you get to the point of attending interviews of company, you'll be proud about the work that you have done in generative AI by spending these 3 hours. And the project that you're going to write in your resume is going to become more valuable for you during the interview process, and you'd be more excited about talking about the project with your interviewer. And I'm sure there will be a lot of things that the interviewer is also going to learn from you. And this is going to make your resume differentiated, unique, and far ahead compared to your peers, as well as lot of the professionals already in the industry. And there is also a saying in the industry that will be two types of people who will be there in the industry after a while. One, a set of people who equip or embrace themselves with the generative AI and lead their careers in a top-notch way. And there will be another set of people who will not embrace generative AI and get left behind. And I'm sure with the kind of decision that you have already made, you will be far ahead in the journey in your career. So far, we have understood the buzz around generative AI technology. Now, let's get into the session. In the first part, we will be understanding about the generative AI landscape. We'll discuss about the opportunities as well as the investments that are happening in the generative AI domain. And we'll also look into what are the applications that are possible with generative AI. And we'll also be looking at few of the demonstrations of generative AI technology. nuts and bolts of building generative AI applications. And then we'll also learn about how you can build your own AI avatar using the different tools, technologies, and frameworks that we are going to understand as part of this workshop. And towards the end, we will also teach you how you can publicize as well as showcase your application that you have built during the session. Let's get into the session. So, before we delve further, I think it's more important for us to understand what generative AI actually is. You can think of generative AI to be something like a super intelligent human. Okay, so we know who humans are, but you can think of generative AI to be something like a super intelligent human. So, what do we mean by a super intelligent human? Okay, as you can see on the slide, there is a knowledge element to a super intelligent human, which has read about millions of books. In a normal human life, we would usually read, like it's very hard for one individual to read even hundreds of books and forget about thousands of books. But think of a super intelligent human who has read more than millions of books. And it's not just about books, but the super intelligent human has also read more than 1 billion websites. It's more than 100 crore websites, and has also completely read Wikipedia as well. So there is a knowledge element to this super intelligent human, as well as there is another element which is capabilities. It doesn't just have knowledge, but it can also use this knowledge for creativity, as well as for problem solving, as well as for analytical thinking, critical thinking, and there are a lot more capabilities. So think of generative AI as a super intelligent human which has plethora of knowledge, which includes millions of books, billion websites, and Wikipedia. At the same time, along with knowledge, there is a capability aspect which is about creativity, problem solving, analytical thinking, critical thinking, and lot more capability. So if we are clear at that, generative AI is something but a blend of knowledge and capabilities. I think this fair understanding is enough for us to make further into the session. Okay. Now let's look at broadly the generative AI landscape. So first we'll try to see what are the applications that have been already created using generative AI. So we'll look at the first application, which is called as Writer, and we'll try to understand more about the application by actually logging into the application and trying to use it. So you can open this application by typing in rytr.me. Okay, so the link for this application has been provided as part of the cheat sheets, and you can open this application. And as you can see, this application, it contains something called as select language. So here you can select like in English, and then there is something called as tone, which we have written it as convincing, and then there is something called as choose use case. Here we have selected as story plot, and then we have given some story idea, Indian comedy thriller about a heist with 3 friends from Hyderabad. Okay, so as you can see here in this application writer.me, which is a application on top of generative AI. So here we are effectively communicating this to super intellectual human who has got a lot of knowledge and lot of capabilities. So what we are effectively communicating to that super intellectual human is that, okay, we want you to write a story plot in English, which should be in a convincing tone, and the story idea should be around Indian comedy thriller about a heist, which with 3 friends from Hyderabad. Okay, so let's click this button right from me and see what it's going to do. Okay, as you can see that this application writer.me has created a story plot which includes a title as well as plot outline and what should be done at each act. So there has been an entire story which has been created just in few seconds, and all of this has been done by the super intellectual human, which is generative AI. It possesses lot of knowledge as well as lot of capability, and basis that capability, this application is able to write a story which would have normally taken, even for a most creative writer also, which would have normally taken few days or few weeks of work to generate a story given a concept. Now by using a generative AI application like writer.me, these movie story writers or movie directors or even movie producers, whenever they have some idea, they can just type in an application like writer.me and can generate story in a few seconds of time, and in a day span they can create hundreds of stories. If they have hundreds of creative ideas, they can create hundreds of such stories. And all of this has been made possible by this super intellectual human. Has a lot of knowledge and lot of capability, and one of the capability is also creativity. So whenever we have given a story idea, using creativity as well as lot of knowledge has been able to create this story. So this is one of the applications of generative AI. And as you can see here that in choose use case, there are multiple use cases. If you want this generative AI application to generate a blog idea or outline, or if you want to write a complete blog, or assume if you are creating a YouTube video channel, so it can write a description for you, or if you are uploading some video onto YouTube, so it can also create video description for you. So there are plethora of tasks in which this generative AI can aid you in terms of creativity by writing whatever you want it to write. So it's more like you having a assistant who is super intellectual human, right? So typically assistants would be having lower capability, but in this case, by leveraging on generative AI, you are actually having an assistant who has plethora of knowledge, as well as there are superhuman capabilities like creativity, problem solving, analytical, critical thinking, all of this combined. And now it's your job how you can leverage them to kind of take you to greater heights. And this is just one application of generative AI. Let's look into lot more examples using which are possible using generative AI. Okay, so writer is one such application which is able to generate text using creativity, and there are a lot more other tasks that we have seen. And this set of tools are called as generative AI text generation tools. As you have already seen that we have instructed it with text, and it has also created text. And there are a lot more applications like Writer, Jasper, Writer Sonic, Copy.ai. Each tool has been designed for a specific purpose. For example, if you take the case of Copy.ai, Copy.ai as an application can help marketing as well as sales people write their copies. So that way, each and every salesperson as well as marketing person, so they have an assistant which is super intellectual human, which has the capability of creativity, problem solving, analytical thinking, critical thinking, as well as plethora of knowledge of more than billion websites, millions of books, as well as it is also fed on Wikipedia data. It's not about searching for a content which is already present on the internet, but which is the most important part here is it is able to create something which never existed on the internet or in the entire world before. So right from zero, it is able to, this super intellectual human is able to bank on his knowledge as well as capability to create something new. That's the power of generative AI text generation application. Let's now look into another use case, what's possible with generative AI. As you can see, some of you might have heard about this application called as DALL-E. Let's see what this application can actually do. So DALL-E is another application of generative AI where given a text, it can create an image. So here we have given a description of what an image it should generate. A photo of teddy bear on a skateboard in Times Square. And let's click on generate and see what sort of image it will generate. As you can see here, it has actually generated, you can see that, in all the four images, there is a teddy bear, and in all cases, the teddy bear is on a skateboard. And as you can see that it's also present in Times Square, which is present in New York. So this image has never before existed. But what DALL-E has done is it understood what we wanted to generate, and basis of its understanding, it was able to create a newer image which hasn't existed before. So this also showcases about another capability of generative AI. One, it has plethora of knowledge. Two, it has capability. One other new capability that we have seen is it's also an artist. artist in the sense that it's not just solving problems or it's not just about creativity, but it can also create newer images, create new art pieces. So one other feature or one other application of generative AI is that it can also act as an artist. Think of it like a super intellectual human artist. So who has plethora of knowledge, plethora of capability, and one of its capability is in terms of being an artist as well. Okay, so this is one of the super applications of generative AI, and there are a lot of artists in the world who are leveraging this generative AI application like DALI, a lot more creative use of these applications, and they are acting on top of whatever the content that is being generated by applications like DALI. Okay, so let's also see what are the other tools in this domain. So this segment of generative AI applications are called as image generation applications. So here all you need to do is you need to describe what sort of image you want to generate, and this generative AI application is going to generate images for you with the kind of description that you provided to them. And there are again plethora of tools which are under this domain, and DALI is one such application, and there are many such other applications like Midjourney, Dream by Wombo, Crayon, and all these applications. So they take in input as your user input, and basis that it will use the knowledge on which it is trained on, as well as the capability it has, and it generates a newer image which has never existed before either on internet or anywhere else. It creates right from scratch and creates an image with the description to the best possible understanding that it has. So this is another capability of generative AI. Now let's look into one more such capability of generative AI. So there is one other website called as Runway ML. So on this website, what you can do is you can describe a text, and Runway ML creates a video. So far we have seen text generation and image generation, and now we are talking about Runway ML, where basis the kind of description that you give, it generates a video which has never existed before. Let's see the video Runway ML has generated.
All you have to do is type in what you want to generate. In this case, a palm tree on a tropical island. Then you can adjust some of the settings like seed value or enable upscaling or interpolation for your generation. Then click the generate button. Once your video is done, you can rate your generation, which helps the Runway team improve Gen 2, and your video will automatically save to your assets folder. You can also download it to your computer or continue adjusting your prompt and generating from this page. When prompting, I find it helpful to structure prompts in this way. The initial base prompt, in this case a palm tree on a tropical beach, followed by in the style of, then including some different style descriptions. A palm tree on a tropical beach in the style of professional cinematography, shallow depth of field, feature film. That prompt is going to return something a bit more cinematic, where a palm tree on a tropical beach in the style of 2D animation, cartoon, hand-drawn animation will give me something a little bit more cartoony and animated.
So, as you can see that it has generated a beautiful video basis the kind of description that we have given. Let's also go to the Runway ML website once. So, as you can see on this website, so it can do two types of job. One, it can convert a text to video, and two, you can also see that given an image, it can also convert to a video. And there are many such videos which are present here. Okay, so where you can provide a text or an image and you can generate a complete new video which has never existed before, which would have otherwise taken lot of effort in terms of like lot of graphics effort, or lot of movie camera department effort, or lot of going to different locations to shoot videos, or lot of computer generated graphic work which has to be done by humans. So by using a tool like Runway ML, there is a super intellectual human again which has plethora of knowledge, which has plethora of capability. We have seen the text generation capability, we have seen the image generation capability, and now we have also seen a video generation capability as well. Okay, and now let's look into what are the different applications, or what are the different tools which possess this capability. So one, we have already talked about Runway ML, and we have also seen a use case of how it has been able to create a beautiful video basis our description. And likewise, there are other tools like Pictory as well as Deep Brain on AI, which also take in an input as text where you describe about the kind of video that you want, and these tools create a beautiful, amazing videos for you. And all of this has been possible by the super intellectual human which is called as generative AI, which possesses a plethora of knowledge as well as plethora of capabilities, which includes creativity, problem solving, as well as being an artist, critical thinking, and all of it. Okay, now let's go and look into another capability of this generative AI. So there is one other website called as Murph. So Murph.ai is one other website which has the capability of generating speech which sounds like a real human. It doesn't sound like artificial or robotic, but it actually sounds like a human. And the interesting piece is that you can also train platforms like them on your voice as well. You can provide samples of your voice, and these platforms can generate speech given a text which sounds almost similar like your voice. Now, let's go and play around with an example use case on Murph.ai platform. So here I have opened Murph.ai platform, and here as you can see that, so there is a person called Dhruv which has been already selected. So here you can select a language. So here we have chosen English India as the language, and we can either select a male voice or we can also select a female voice. So here if you want to select Meera or Kavya, we can select one of them. So I have selected Kavya as a voice, and we can also adjust pitch or speed, or even we can add pauses. And Kavya as a profile, so it's a voice profile which has been trained on a person. So all we need to do is create few samples of our voice and upload it to such platforms, and they create a voice profile of yours, and given a text it almost sounds like as if you are speaking for real. Let's now test it. Okay, now let's play it.
Hello everyone, welcome to the first ever Generative AI workshop.
As you must have heard, it almost sounds like a real human voice. It doesn't sound robotic. And you can also see that there are many such tools which are available in the market as we speak today, which can actually take samples of your voice and which can generate voice from text, which almost sounds like as if you are speaking for real. Okay, so let's also look into what are the other such tools that exist in the market. Okay, so again, there is one other tool called Flicky, and there is one more tool which we will learn towards the end of this workshop called PlayHT. So all these tools have made possible basis of text. Once you give text as an input, it can generate a human-like voice, or if you create a voice profile of yours, it can also generate a voice or speech as if it sounds like you. And again, all of this has also been made possible by the generative AI. So again, you can think of it like a super intellectual human. Now let's look into another such example of generative AI. So we can also see that generative AI is not just about text generation, it's not just about image generation, it's not just about video generation, or it's not just about speech generation, but it can also generate music. Now let's try it out and experiment it and see how it sounds. Again, for us to be able to generate music, you don't need to be a musician or a music director. All it needs is for you to be able to type some description of the music that you want in English, and there are enough tools in the market now which can actually generate music for you without having an orchestra or any other thing. Let's see. So as this application is going to take some time to generate music from the text that we will give. So I have already pre-generated the music for you. Let's hear it out. So here the description that we have given is an Indian hip hop beat using guitar riffs, and let's see how it sounds like. So you can actually see that basis the description, it has actually generated a music, and you didn't need to have any orchestra, or you don't even have to learn music to create such musical bites. And now let's look into another use case of how you can leverage music gen. So here we have uploaded Harry Potter theme music here. I'll just play it for you. So now we are asking it to play this Harry Potter music using Indian instruments like tabla, sitar and flute. So in this case also we have already generated the music, and let's play it and see how it actually sounds like the Harry Potter theme music using tabla, sitar and flute. So as you can figure out that generative AI has done a phenomenal job in terms of recreating the Harry Potter theme music using Indian instruments like tabla, sitar and flute. So now we have understood about another one more capability of generative AI, which is its ability to generate music. So you as an individual, without even having to be an expert in terms of musical ability, you can still, by using your language, you can describe you what sort of music that you want, and there are tools which can actually generate this music bites for you. And there are many tools such so Hugging Face music generation tool, Mewbird, Beatbot, and there are many plethora of such tools which can actually create music for you. So again, we have learned about another capability of generative AI, which is about generating its ability to create new music which hasn't existed before, and all on basis of the kind of description we give it to it. Okay, so this is one more interesting use case of generative AI. Okay, now let's look into another use case. So as you have already seen that generative AI is capable of creating stories, it's capable of creating videos, it's capable of delivering dialogues, it's capable of generating music, it's capable of generating images. So combining all these technologies, some people have created a movie in itself. Movie is nothing but encompassing all of them together, and you stitch them all together and you get a movie, right? So there have been some creative professionals, in spite of making a movie with like few hundreds of crew, they have just with handful of people, they were actually able to create a AI generated generative AI created movie. Okay, let's watch a few seconds of this movie.
Pass me the tail.
Is that what I think it is?
Oh, Jesus. The signal is coming from the mountain.
As you can see that this really sounds interesting, right? So by using generative AI or by leveraging generative AI, you are able to create a movie, and no wonder few years down the line there could be a multi-billion-dollar box office collection movies which are completely generated by generative AI. So let's look forward to more and more such things coming in, and let's try to leverage generative AI for our own benefit and make sure that we make a huge progress in our own life as well as in our own career. And so far we have looked at about a lot of capabilities of generative AI, be it with respect to text, image, videos, music, speech, right? So now let's look at another interesting capability of generative AI. So a lot of you might have heard about a tool called as GitHub Copilot. So what it does is it can generate code for you. So far we have seen a lot of other creative elements. Now we are talking about generative AI being capable of writing code. So don't worry about it. As long as you are able to leverage this super intellectual human to help you, to assist you, you are actually having a super intellectual human who can write code as your assistant, which has plethora of knowledge and plethora of capabilities. Only if you know how you can leverage, only if you know how to leverage this super intellectual human to help you and to make you a super developer, I think there is nothing that's gonna stop you to kind of become a super developer. Okay, let's go to the GitHub Copilot website and see a small use case of it generating code. So here in the GitHub website, you can see that the title names your AI pair programmer. So here the objective is how you as an individual software developer can leverage this super intellectual human as your assistant who can aid you to become a super developer. Let's look at one use case here. So here you can see that determine whether the sentiment of text is positive, use a web service. The moment you have give this text to this GitHub Copilot, it has generated a code for you. So now you know what this GitHub Copilot is capable of, and now it's your time to kind of leverage this to the full extent. And as we proceed further in the course, we will also help you in terms of how you can use this or leverage these generative AI code generation tools to help you become a super developer. There are many workshops which are planned in the pipeline to make sure that you become a super developer. And as we discussed early in the session, so there will be two types of people. One who will embrace this generative AI and become super developers, and two who will not embrace this generative AI and just get left behind with no progress or which can even end their career as well. So it's time for us to embrace this generative AI even in all different aspects, be it in terms of text generation or be it in terms of code generation. So our objective is to take assistance of this super intellectual human and create value for a lot of companies, create impact by solving a lot of human challenges or problems that the humanity is facing. And I'm sure that we have made sure that there are some interesting things that have been laid out for you over the next few months on how you can leverage generative AI to make sure that you become a super developer. Okay, and let's also look into a lot more generative AI code generation tools which exist in the market today. So one of it is GitHub Copilot, and there is another tool called as Seek, and there is another tool called as Durable, and this is also an evolving space. There are lots of such code generation tools which are being created in the market as we speak, and there are lot of ways how you as an individual can leverage these tools to make sure that you are at the top notch in terms of creating applications and to become a super developer. And we'll also look at one more interesting application called as Framer. So as you can read on it, which says that start your dream site with AI, zero code, maximum speed. So let's go and see what it can actually do. Okay, so here we are giving some description to create a website. Okay, a portfolio page for Rahul, a photographer in Hyderabad, India. The site should also include information about Rahul's background, his approach to photography, and upcoming events or exhibitions. So with this description, I wanted it to create a website. Let's see what it does. As you can see that in just few seconds, this Framer application basis my description has really generated a beautiful website, and just at the click of a button, you can actually publish this website. So this is one other capability of generative AI. So by leveraging generative AI, you can create web applications like static websites without even writing a line of code. So this might be scaring a few of you, but I assure you that you need not worry about all such tools as long as you wish to embrace them and become a super developer. And for you to become a super developer, all you need to remember is that you need to be very strong with tech fundamentals. So whatever you are learning in terms of programming or problem solving using programming or web fundamentals, all of this is going to make sure that this is another tool in your basket which can actually make you a super developer. So as long as you are updated with the latest state of the art tools that are available, and as long as you are strong with the fundamentals, I think combining both of them together, you will become a super top notch developer. And we are here to help you as part of our program to ensure that you are up to date with the latest happenings in technology, as well as you have a solid understanding of the fundamentals. And this combination, this combo is going to make you a rock star developer. And stay tuned for a lot more such workshops which we have planned over the next few months, which will actually make you take you multiple take you a leap forward in your journey as a developer. Okay, and as you can see that there are many such application building tools which are created already in the market: Wix ADI, Framer, Hostinger, and there are plethora of such tools where you can, without actually writing code, you can build a lot of applications. Okay, and there is a whole lot of generative AI landscape. So while the technology has been pretty new in the sense that it has become a mainstream thing over the last few months, less than an year ago, but because of the power of technology, everybody is now envisioning a lot of applications that can be created using generative AI, and it falls into a lot of such categories. And we are here to help you in terms of what are the technologies or what are the applications which can create a significant impact for you. We want to make sure that you are at the edge of what's happening in the industry, and always make sure that you are at the edge, and you can leverage all these tools and technologies and can make a significant leap and jumps and progress in your career. Okay, and now so far we have seen about the capabilities of generative AI, and I'm sure you must be enough convinced about the power of this technology. Now let's look into what these tech giants are thinking about this generative AI technology. As you can see that Microsoft has invested $10 billion of investment into OpenAI, and there are many companies like all the tech giants like Meta, Google, Amazon. Each and every company is investing billions of dollars of their money into building this generative AI, and for the obvious reasons that it's a super intellectual human which possesses immense knowledge, plethora of knowledge, and plethora of capabilities, and the kind of applications that are possible with it are immense. So that's the reason a lot of these tech giants are investing a lot of money. And what does it means for us? So it means that when these tech giants are investing a lot into these technologies, I think it also showcases that there is a brighter side of opportunities for us as a developers who are willing to create a lot more generative AI applications. Okay, and it's not just about tech giants, but there are also a lot of these celebrities who are willing to get associated and get invested into these generative AI technologies, and they want to ensure that they are also at the edge of what's happening in the technology. And there is one announcement from Bloomberg Intelligence which says that generative AI could become a $1.3 trillion market by 2032. It's just 9 years away from now. And just to put it in perspective or put it into context, as we speak today, current Indian economy is of $3.75 trillion, and in just 9 years of time, there is an entirely new market which is gonna get created, which is worth $1.3 trillion. So you can imagine the kind of opportunities, the kind of quantum of impact that generative AI is going to have on entire world, and whoever is going to be the first movers are going to significantly benefit from this revolution. And we at Next Wave are committed to make sure that all of our students are at the edge of this technology, and they are going to become most sought after candidates in the industry by learning how to build generative AI applications, and are going to create a lot of applications which will actually create a lot of impact positively on the entire ecosystem. Looking forward to more such workshops for you where you can pick generative AI stuff and you can actually create applications. And now let's look into what are the different possibilities that can happen with generative AI. So there are multiple areas in which you can actually create generative AI applications. It's not limited to one domain. As you can see, you can utilize generative AI to create applications in agricultural domain, education domain, healthcare domain, manufacturing sector. So if you were to just pick up agriculture as a domain. I think India is predominantly dependent on a lot of Indians are dependent on agriculture. Imagine if you can put this super intellectual human in every farmer mobile, where they can communicate with this super intellectual human to ensure that to understand what sort of crops do they need to grow, and how can they get best yield out of their crops, and how can they maximize their profits by getting guidance from this super intellectual human. So imagine the kind of impact that you can create on farmers in the country. And in same is the case with education, where you can put this super intellectual human in each and every hand of each and every student across nook and corner of the country, where they can get personalized guidance, who is again from a super intellectual human who has plethora of knowledge as well as plethora of capabilities. And same is the case with healthcare. Imagine every doctor as well as healthcare professional has access to generative AI application. Again, it's like a super intellectual human which can help them and assist them in providing effective medical care for billions of people within the country and across the world. And it is not just limited to these sectors, but it is, you can utilize this generative AI and build applications which will impact logistics sector, banking and finance sector, pharma sector, every other possible imaginative, every other possible domain that you can imagine. You can use this generative AI and create immense value for each and every possible one. And in the next part of this workshop, let's look into how you can build these generative AI applications. So far, we have understood about what we have briefly understood about what generative AI is, and we have also seen few demonstrations or use cases of what can be done with this generative AI, and we have also seen about what sort of investments are actually going into this generative AI technology by a lot of tech giants and what it means for us. And we have already seen what sort of market is going to get created, and we have also seen what are the immense possibilities which cuts across different domains, be it agriculture, education, healthcare, manufacturing, logistics. So we have also understood that generative AI is across all domains where it can create a lot of value. And now, after understanding generative AI and its possibilities, now it's time for us to actually get into how do we go about creating generative AI applications. And I'm sure that a lot of your minds are popping up with a lot of ideas in terms of how you can utilize this generative AI and create a massive impact for a lot of these domains. And we will ensure that you understand all the nuts and bolts of this generative AI technology and how you could actually create an application which will actually create a positive impact on the society. So in the next part of the workshop, so we'll get into that. Until then, stay tuned. Now let's get into building a generative AI application. And as a first step, we will try to understand what is the architecture that we need to go about and what are the nuts and bolts that we are going to use to create a generative AI application. Combination of these tools, technologies and frameworks in building a generative AI application. There are tools called as LangChain, Gradio, Google Colab, LLM, Hugging Face, vector databases, PlayHT. So we'll be using a combination of these tools, technologies and framework to create a generative AI application by end of this workshop. Before we get into building one, let's take an example. For example, we all know a car, and what's the most important component of a car? We all know that it's engine of the car. It's the engine of the car which powers the car to move forward, right? So in a similar way, if we are looking to build a generative AI application, the core engine which is powering this generative AI, especially in case of text generation, is called as language learning model. So we have discussed so far that generative AI is a super intellectual human, right? So it's something that we use in a day-to-day normal language or in layman terms. But the technical name for it is called as large language models. So large language model is the core engine which drives generative AI, especially for text generation applications. So whenever we are talking about generative AI text generation applications, so the core engine here is called as large language model. We'll delve deep into what does large mean, what does language mean, what does a model mean. But by far we have understood that these super intelligent human, in case of text generation, it's called as large language model, which are also called as LLMs. Whenever you hear the word LLM, it means large language model. So this large language model has a lot of knowledge as well as a lot of capabilities, right? So how did this large language model has built this amount of knowledge and built this amount of capabilities? What did it take to create this large language model with such amount of knowledge and such amount of capabilities? Here on the slide you can see that towards the left side there is a section called as resources. So under that you can see that CPU, GPU and TPU. CPU, everybody knows about it, central processing unit, and GPU, graphical processing unit, and TPU, tensor processing unit. So TPUs are super powered processing units. They are most powerful processing units as we speak now. And to create a large language model which is capable of having a lot of knowledge and lot of capabilities, to build such large language model, we need to use millions of CPU, GPU or TPU sort of resources to create this large language model. And the amount of memory, the RAM it requires is in the order of terabytes. And the time and the cost, if you look at, so it will take few months of time to build from scratch, from zero level to the large language model. And it will also cost hundreds of crores to create a large language model. And you need to feed this in the large language model building process. You need to feed the system with huge amounts of data sets, be it related to Wikipedia, be it related to billion websites, or be it related to millions of books. So for all of it, you need to have petabytes of data that needs to go into the training system. And one element of it is like, you need to have a resources like CPU, GPU or TPU sort of resources, which you need millions in number, and you need memory which is terabytes, and you need few months of time, and you need hundreds of crores of money, and you need huge data sets, petabytes of data related to Wikipedia, or you need data related to billion websites, or be it millions of books. So you need all these resources. And there is another vector or another element that you need is human capability of research and development. So you need top researchers who have been in the domain for few years, who have been extensively working on how do they go about building large language models. So we need researchers who are capable of training these large language models, and you need entrepreneurs who invest their money into building such things. So as you can see how complex it is to build a large language model, you need a lot of resources, you need a lot of intellectual human capability to create this artificial human, super intellectual human, right? So now let's get to understanding. So now we have understood briefly about what it takes to create a large language model, right? So now let's try to understand what does large mean, what does language mean, and what does a model mean. Okay, so towards the end of training, by leveraging resources and by leveraging human capability, the super intellectual human is called as model. Okay, so the model comprises of various other things which we'll go into detail as we move forward. But for now, let's understand what large means. Okay, so these models are made up of something called as weights and parameters. So the size of the model is what is determined by the number of parameters that the model consists of. So as you can see, some of these models consist of 1 billion parameters, 5 billion parameters, 70 billion parameters, 100 billion parameters. So as the number of size of parameters grows in size, so anything above $1 billion or even few millions of dollars, millions of parameters, you can consider it to be a large language model. Okay, so when we are mentioning this name as large, it means there are billions of parameters which are included as part of the model. So hence the name large. And language, because it is being trained on lot of text data, which is again either in English or any specific language. So this is called as language. And model, because at the end of the training, what gets the super intellectual human is nothing but a model which consists of an architecture. There are weights and parameters. Okay, so because the parameters are in huge volume, which is in the order of billions, it is called as large language model. Okay, so simply termed as LLMs. And as you can see there are multiple architectures which have been in existence before 2017. So there is some architecture called as RNNs, recurrent neural networks, and there is some other architecture called as LSTM, long and short term memory. Okay, so there have been many such architectures until 2017, when there was a research paper published called as Attention is All You Need. So in this new research paper, there was an architecture which was proposed called as transformers. And this architecture is breakthrough movement or revolutionary movement in the domain of large language models or in the domain of generative AI. We'll go deeper into what this transformers architecture is, but all we need to understand is that this architecture has played a crucial role in the growth of generative AI that we are seeing today. And the name GPT, so we must have heard about the names Chat GPT. So do you know about what does GPT mean? Let's understand. So GPT means generative, pre-trained, transformer. Okay, so generative means because these large language models, because they are trained on lots of data, and the architecture in itself has capabilities like which has the capability of logical capability, creative capability, and all of it. Okay, so these large language models are capable of taking an input text, and basis of the data it has been trained on, so it can figure out the patterns and it can predict the next word basis the input that we have given. So because of its ability to predict a new word, it's called as generative. And the name pre-trained comes from the fact that it has been trained on a vast amount of data. And transformer, so it suggests the architecture that it follows. So when you hear about Chat GPT, so you need to understand that it's a generative, pre-trained, transformer. So the architecture that it follows is the large language model Chat GPT. The architecture it follows is transformer architecture. So you understood about the kind of resources that it needs, you understood about the kind of human capability it needs in terms of building a large language model, which is the super intellectual human, which possesses lot of knowledge as well as lot of capabilities. And you understood why the name large, because of the billions of parameters that it consists of. And you also understood the components of a model, which one of the components is architecture. And you also understood that prior to 2017, there have been other architectures, and transformers architecture has been revolutionary or path breaking or breakthrough in the domain of generative AI. And the name GPT means generative pre-trained transformers. And the word generative means its ability to predict, and pre-trained means because it has been trained on a lot of data, and transformer means the architecture using which the model has been built. Now, let's take a step deep into trying to understand transformers. So, at a high level, you can think of a transformer is nothing but a model architecture. So, again, there is nothing fancy here. So, you give an input and it predicts the next word for the given input. Okay, and which is called as output, right? Now, let's go further deep into what is inside this transformer. So inside this transformer architecture, you can see that there are encoders and there are decoders. Don't worry if you do not understand what it means, what does encoders mean and what does decoders means. As long as you can understand that, inside transformers, there are encoders, something called as encoders, and there are something called as decoders. So you give the input to encoders, and encoders generate an output, which is again fed into decoders. Again, this decoders taken as input, the output from encoders, and it again creates a output which is given to us. So inside the transformer, there are encoders and there are decoders. And if you further go deep, so inside inside the block of encoders, there are multiple encoders. As you can see, the input which you give to one encoder and the output which comes out of it is fed into another encoder, and it goes on. And towards the end, there is one encoder. The output which is emitted out of it is being fed to all the decoders, and again each output from each of the decoder is again fed into another decoder, and towards the end, the last decoder is actually generating the output. Don't worry if you do not understand what's happening here. Just try to look at the images and just try to get familiarized with the architecture, how it visually looks. Okay, so do not worry if you do not understand any bits of this newer jargon or terminology like encoder, decoder. Okay, all you need to remember is the architectural image. Okay, so there is transformer. Inside the transformer, there are encoders, decoders of this block of encoders. So you can see this is how it is actually laid out. Okay, let's go even more further a level deep. Okay, so inside each encoder, there is something called as self-attention, and the input to the self-attention and the output to the self-attention goes into another feed forward neural network. Okay, so here the important point that we need to remember is this self-attention. As I have already mentioned, in 2017 there was a research paper called as "Attention is All You Need." So one of the path breaking or breakthrough has happened because of this layer within the encoder, which is called as self-attention. And similarly, in decoder also, you have something called as self-attention, encoder, decoder, attention. This aspect of attention is what has actually brought about the breakthrough that has happened in the domain of generative AI. And for time being, even if you do not know or even if you do not understand any bit of this transformer architecture, it's okay. All we are trying to do is now familiarize you with this jargon and with terminology and this visual image of how the architecture inside looks like. Beyond that, there is no reason you need to understand any further. Just try to get familiarized with it. Okay, beyond this, you need not understand anything for now. As you further delve deeper into generative AI or building large language models, you will anyways get familiarized with it. But for the purpose of generative AI application building, I think this level of understanding is more than sufficient for you. Okay, so now we have understood about what it takes to create a large language model in terms of CPU, GPU, memory, time and cost, data sets, research and development that is needed. And we have understood the terms large language model, and within model, we have understood what does it entail, be it weights, architecture, parameters, and we have also understood about architectures which have been followed prior to 2017, RNNs, LSTM, and 2017 was when the breakthrough happened with Attention is All You Need research paper, which consists of transformers architecture and the popular ChatGPT application. As the name says, generative pre-trained transformer. So it follows a transformer architecture, and it is generative because it predicts an output given an input, and it is also pre-trained on massive amounts of data. Okay, so now we have understood a fair amount in terms of what does a large language model mean. Okay, and we also understood how difficult it is to train a large language model. Okay, so there are many such pre-trained models which are there in the market: GPT-3, GPT-4, Google Bird, Meta's Llama 2, and we have also understood the time, the amount of cost, and the amount of resources are immensely high, right? So there is something called as a concept called as fine tuning. Okay, so what you can do is, by using a pre-trained model, you can also add specific context which is more relevant to your business, and you can fine-tune the pre-trained model for your own business context. By leveraging this pre-trained model and adding your own specific context, you will be able to build your own model, which will take significantly less time compared to building a model from scratch, and it will cost you significantly lesser cost, and it will cost you significantly lesser resources to kind of create a fine-tuned model from a pre-trained model. Let's try to understand it by using an example. So imagine there is a kid who, right from zero level, right from the age of kid, gone through different grades and studied different subjects, and came to 8th grade and cleared all the examinations. Imagine a student. So the amount of time it took, the amount of effort it took, the amount of expenditure that has already been spent on the candidate, and all the resources that have gone into. So creating a 8th grade student who has been successful, right from every time if you need to create, there is a lot of resources and cost and effort that is involved, right? But if you want to have the same candidate learn ninth class mathematics, okay, because the candidate has already learned maths till 8th and a lot of language and other subjects, so it becomes relatively easier for the student to learn mathematics. So it doesn't take him like 10 years or 11 years or 12 years to learn mathematics of ninth class. All it takes is, because we are already relying on the pre-trained candidate who's been already trained till 8th grade, so all it takes is like few months or few days to teach him ninth class mathematics, and then he or she will be capable to kind of clear ninth class mathematics exams. So you can think of the 8th grade student as the pre-trained model, and in your context as ninth class mathematics, and you take the pre-trained model and fine-tune the model with the newer subject that you want to teach to the candidate, and towards the end you get an outcome which is like the student is well equipped with the ninth class mathematics who can actually clear an exam. So by leveraging this approach of fine-tuning, you'll be able to save a lot of cost, a lot of money, a lot of resources. But you might be wondering, who will be providing me with a pre-trained model, because there has already been hundreds of crores of money, time, and all of it has been already been spent. Why would someone give it to you, right? So just let's look at the answer. So within the machine learning or AI community, there are two sorts of approaches. One is a closed approach, one is an open source approach. For example, companies like OpenAI, which has significantly invested in AI capability or generative AI capability, where they have invested billions of dollars of money in terms of building a model from scratch by leveraging top-notch AI expertise, top-notch TPUs, and top-notch quality data. So they have built a massive, powerful generative AI model called as large language model called as GPT, right? So they wanted to make sure that it is closed, and they have many reasons as to why it should be as a closed model. And there is another set of companies like Meta, which is Facebook. So Meta, they believe that open source is the go-to way to create these large language models, so that all the top-notch AI researchers across the world can collaborate together and create even more powerful, even more intellectual, even more capable, even more knowledgeable large language model can be built by collaboration, and by open sourcing it is what Meta believes in, and you can make it even more safe and whatnot. Okay, so there are two schools of thought. One is closed approach, one is open approach. So by leveraging on the open models which are available for us to utilize the pre-trained model, and we can use fine-tuning to kind of build a model which actually fits for our use case. Okay, so now you might be wondering, so how can you as an individual, where can you procure these pre-trained models from, right? So let's look into one application called as Hugging Face, where a lot of this AI community is actually deploying these models. Before we get to that, let's also look into how you as an individual can actually use OpenAI capability, and how can you integrate it into building your own generative AI application. So if you open openai.com and if you create an account, so there are three options that get shown to you. ChatGPT, which I believe most of you must have used ChatGPT, where you can type text, and it provides you with a lot of guidance and all of it. And there is DALI, which we have seen previously in the session, where you can generate images. And there is this third component called as APIs. So APIs is one means through which you integrate the generative AI capability into your application. And whenever you are creating a new account with OpenAI, so they will also provide you with $5 worth of credits for you to integrate generative AI into your own application. It's roughly 400 rupees, and you can use these credits to actually integrate the power of generative AI into whatever applications you actually build. Okay, so once you are exhausted with the credits that are provided for you to utilize them for free, you can actually purchase more and more credits. And if your application has gotten such a heavy usage, I think you can always purchase more and more credits to utilize this generative AI power within your application. Okay, so I urge all of you to create this OpenAI account, which we'll be using towards this end of this workshop to integrate generative AI capability into the application that we are about to build. So now we have seen OpenAI website, and we have understood about APIs through which we can actually integrate the generative AI capability into our application. Now let's get to where these open source pre-trained models are actually hosted, where you can download it from, or where you can pull it from and utilize from. Okay, so we have understood that there is a platform called as Hugging Face. Okay, so this is the largest AI community which is building the future. So as we all understand that generative AI is going to be the future, and there are this huge set of believers who think that you can actually create the future by actually collaborating among these like-minded top researchers. If they come together and collaborate together, they believe that we can create a much better future by leveraging generative AI. So Hugging Face is one such platform where a lot of machine learning engineers come together, collaborate on building models, collaborate on building data sets, which is very crucial for training a generative AI model. And there are a lot of applications, generative AI applications or machine learning applications, which are actually hosted on this Hugging Face platform. And just to delve a little further, so most of you must have heard about a platform called as GitHub. So currently, if you look at on a month-to-month basis, there are approximately 400 million visits to such website. And GitHub was founded in 2008, and it got acquired by Microsoft for $7.5 billion. Okay, so GitHub is one platform where a lot of these developers who are building traditional applications actually collaborate together and build applications. Whereas Hugging Face, which was actually launched in 2016, as we speak today, there are 22.9 million monthly visits to that website, and it is currently valued at $4 billion. So you can see that while the number of visits to Hugging Face is just 1/20th of GitHub as we speak today, but we truly believe that in 5 to 10 years now, I believe Hugging Face is going to be the most widely used platform among the developer community because of the kind of value proposition that it offers, be it in terms of top-notch generative AI developer community or top-notch researchers, all of them coming together and creating better future in the domain of generative AI. And for the same reason, the company is valued at such a huge valuation of $4 billion. And there are a lot of companies which are actually publishing their models onto generative this Hugging Face platform. So companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, Twitter, Meta, all these companies are on a day-to-day basis, whatever the models that they are building, so which they believe by being open source, it can create much better value for the society as a whole. So all these companies are actually deploying their state-of-the-art models onto this platform and making them available for the rest of the community to utilize it, provide feedback, improve, and grow together. And more than 50,000 plus companies have actually deployed their models into Hugging Face as we speak today. And as we speak today, there are more than 250,000 models which have already been deployed. It's not just about large language models, but there have been models related to image generation, video generation, speech generation, code generation. So there are plenty of such models which have been deployed, and there are more than 50,000 datasets. So at the end of the day, for you to be able to train a large language model, so dataset is going to be one of the key ingredient or component in building such large language models. And there are 50,000 such datasets which are available for one to kind of download the dataset. Either you can fine tune a pre-trained model using the dataset, or if you wish to, you can actually utilize this dataset to build a large language model from scratch as well. And there are more than 100K, more than 1 lakh plus applications related to this machine learning and generative AI, which have been already deployed on this Hugging Face platform. And we, towards this end of the workshop, we would also be developing a generative AI application, and we would also be deploying it on, each one of you would be deploying it on Hugging Face platform, where the elite of this generative AI as well as machine learning community is on. And a lot of these ML researchers and engineers are actually creating a portfolio of their work on this Hugging Face platform. So people create models and deploy them or make them available on Hugging Face platform. People deploy their applications and share it among the community for seeking their feedback. And people publish research papers and make them available on the platform for the greater benefit of others. So by being part of this community, there is a lot of things that you can gain from. Okay, I would also like to add another point. So once you kind of build a large language model or a generative AI application, so at the end of the day, for you to make it available for a wider section of population within the community, so you can actually deploy your application to Hugging Face platform, which also offers you with a certain set of free CPU or GPU or TPU resources and memory for the fellow users to actually use the application. And you could also go with higher paid models to power your application even more to be able to cater to the community. So you have models, you have data sets, and you have something called as spaces where you can actually deploy your application and you can also leverage upon the free resources. And in case your application requires even more resources, you can also go with the paid models of these resources as well. And so if you have to look at like a pyramid, so there are like few hundreds of millions of people who would normally have accounts on platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. So where they create their personal profile, keep posting their pictures, and that's the sort of profile like majority of the human population is on. And there is a subsection of people called as programmers who are into tech, and among them again there is a smaller subset of people who have accounts on platforms like GitHub where they showcase their the development work and their contributions to open source, which is primarily has been around traditional applications. And now in this era of generative AI, I think Hugging Face is the newer platform where every other individual who wishes to grow their careers or build their careers in generative AI are creating their portfolio or profile on platforms like Hugging Face. And we wish that the next generation of platform will be created by students like you who would be creating or paving path for the next generation of technologies and create platforms where a lot more people would come and collaborate and create newer set of things. So you must have understood so there are a lot of people who would have create profile on social platforms, and there would be significantly fewer set of people who would be have building their profile on GitHub, and like a very minuscule, less than 1% or less than 0.1% of the developer population today are building their profile on Hugging Face, but which is bound to change in near future, where 5 to 10 years down the line, every other person would be building their portfolio on Hugging Face sort of platform. So I urge all of you to start your journey with Hugging Face sort of a platform, and give an early start, or you stay ahead in among your peers and among the developer community, and by the time everybody realizes the value of generative AI, and by the time they realize you are already notches ahead in the journey. Okay. So now once let's get to Hugging Face website. Okay, so once you log into the Hugging Face website, you can see that at the top there is something called as models. So if you click on it, you can see that there are 2,72,128 models, and here you can see that Meta Llama 2 7B. The 7B denotes that this model has 7 billion parameters, and here you can also see that in the fourth line there is Meta Llama 2 70 billion. 70B is nothing but 70 billion parameters which are present in that model, and you can see that there are many models which are already present, which you can actually utilize to for fine tuning, or if you want to improve on the models. And then you can see that there are close to 50k data sets which you can actually utilize to either fine tune a pre-trained model.
The tale of Naruto.
Utilize to either fine tune a pre-trained model, or even if you would wish to build a model from scratch. And then you have something called as spaces, where a lot of these machine learning applications or generative AI applications have already been deployed upon. Okay, so as we proceed further in this workshop, so we would also learn how do we go about creating our own space, which means how do we go about creating our own generative application, and how do we go about deploying it and making it accessible for the rest of the community. Now, so far we have seen that in Hugging Face sort of a platform, there are many models which are getting created on it every week or on a monthly basis, because generative AI is the most trending thing right now. So every other day there has been multiple progress being made by lots of different companies, and there are many such models which are getting created on a day-to-day basis. Imagine you are building a car, and there are multiple engines which are getting created on a day-to-day basis, and you don't want to create a new car every time there is a new engine in the industry. So you might want to have a structure where the whole of the car remains the same, and you just might want to plug and play an engine which is available in the market. Maybe today you are using a petrol car, and tomorrow you might be using a diesel car, which whenever there is a new engine, or there could be another engine which is more powerful than the ones that you are already using. So you do not want to change whole of your car, be it in terms of the structure, or be it in terms of the seating capacity, or be it in terms of the controls that the car provides. So you might not want to change all of this, right? So you might just want to change the car engine in itself, right? So in a similar way, because these large language models are getting updated on every day, there are newer set of models with newer capabilities, or with different knowledge. So there are many such models which come into existence or on a day-to-day basis. And for you as a generative AI application developer, you might not want to change your entire application code because of there is a change in the core engine, right? So to facilitate that, like how you have in cars, you can just change an engine. So in case of generative AI application also, for you to be not impacted by the change in language model or the core engine, but the entire applications remains the same. So you use something called as LangChain framework. So this framework allows you to switch or swap the core language model with whatever model, be it in terms of like OpenAI, be it in terms of like a model like Llama 2. So you might just want to keep experimenting or keep swapping among multiple these large language models without actually impacting your overall generative AI application. So this LangChain framework ensures that there are minimal changes to your overall application in spite of you changing the core engine in itself. Okay, so this is such a powerful framework that is being widely used across by a lot of these generative AI application builders, and we will also be using this LangChain framework, which is a widely used framework, in building our own application in this workshop as we proceed further in the session. And then, so now, as we have already discussed, so now there are a lot of models, there is a lot of innovation, there is a lot of pace at which things are moving on. So every time you build a newer model or you fine tune a model, you might want to give it to your fellow engineers or your fellow researchers to kind of experiment and play around with your model to kind of, get feedback and, to improve upon. So you might not want to spend a lot of time on in terms of like fine tuning the finer details of car, like maybe like a car seat. You might not want a leather seat, or you might not want a ventilated seat, or you might not want a panoramic sunroof car. So all you need, because your core focus is on improving the engine, your focus is not on delivering a production quality car to an end user, but you as a researcher or you as a ML developer might be focused on in terms of improving the quality of your engine or testing out the quality of your engine. So you need a faster way to get your engine out to your fellow peers or fellow researchers, and test your engine and give the feedback. So like similar to car, so you might not need a full-fledged car, but all you need is a seat to sit and steering to steer, and to test the power of the engine, right? So which should ideally require a minimal setup, right? So there is something called as Gradio, which is an open source Python library. So as generative AI researchers and developers are focused on in terms of improving the core engine or capability of it, so by spending minimal amount of code and minimal amount of effort, they can create very intuitive UIs which can be shared to the fellow researchers and fellow developers to actually keep testing with the application or the generative AI model. So let's try to understand Gradio a little bit deeper, or let's try to understand it by looking at an example code. Let's get to the browser and open Gradio website and see what it can actually do by experiencing it. So this is Gradio website that we are looking at right now. So here you can see that sketch recognition, and there are 4 lines of code, and here you have an interface which got generated with these 4 lines of code. Here I can draw something like a circle, and as soon as I have drawn a circle, so there is a machine learning model which has actually been run, and it gave output saying that it's actually 54% probability that it's a circle, 26 probability that it's a moon. So you can see that there is a very intuitive UI that has been where I am able to draw something and where I can see the output, and I can clear this. So all of this has been made possible just by writing 4 lines of code or less than 4 lines of code, right? So this is the power of Gradio, right? So without having to write lots of lines of code, you are able to actually create interfaces. If you were to ask a typical application developer, like a full stack developer, so they might say that building this UI might will take like couple of weeks of time to get all this functionality. But by using a library like Gradio, by just writing 3 or 4 lines of code, you are able to generate such intuitive UI, which you can actually share it among your fellow developers to actually use or test your application. And for question answering UI, again, you can see that there are 3-4 lines, and you can create this intuitive UI. And there is another application called as image segmentation. Again, here also, as you can see, there are 3-4 lines of code that you need to create this UI, and where you are actually testing some models, AI models, and you have something like time series forecasting. Again, all you need is few lines of code, and you can create these intuitive UIs. So here you can see that XGBoost with explainability. So here you can see a lot of these seek bars, a lot of these drop downs, and all of it getting generated just with few lines of code. So by using a platform like Gradio, so with just few lines of code, you can create more delightful machine learning apps, and this is one of the fastest ways to kind of get your machine learning or generative AI application to be shared across your friends, family, or be it with fellow researchers or fellow developers. And it doesn't require a lot of skill. All you need to write is like few lines of code, and that's it. And this is the one of the most favorite tool among a lot of these generative AI or machine learning researchers as well as developers. Okay, and we would also be using this Gradio Python open source Python library towards this end of this workshop, where you would be building an application. We would also be utilizing this Gradio library and build an intuitive interface which is more like a chatbot. And so far we have discussed about LangChain framework. We have seen about Gradio. We have learned about how do we have understood that we should be using OpenAI APIs. But how do you or where do you write all this code? So we have learned that Gradio is a Python library, but where do you write the code for it? And same is the case with how we have learned that LangChain is a framework, but where do you write the code about it? And we have also learned that we want to use OpenAI, but where do you write code for it? Like if you are manufacturing a car, you're considering if car is like a generative AI application. So we have discussed about lot of parts like engine. We have discussed about tires, and there is a structure, all of this. But how do you or where do you assemble all of them together to kind of create a real car? Right? So typically manufacturing takes place in something we can call it as a garage sort of a place, where you kind of you have all the plumbing tools and fitting tools together and assembling all of them together. So you have a place, something called as like something like a garage, right? So for us to be able to create a generative AI application, so there is something called as Google Colab. You can think of it as a cloud-based platform where you can actually write Python code, and you can execute, and you can test your code. So Google Colab is a free service which is provided by Google, and it is more more used by ML researchers and application developers, and it's popular among the data science community. So it is primarily used for prototyping as well as for experimentation. We'll also just try opening this Google Colab, and again, as we proceed further into the session, we would also be using this Google Colab in building our first generative AI application. So in the browser, you can just type collab.research.google.com. Okay, all you need is a Google account, Gmail account, and once you have a Gmail account, you can just type in collab.research.google.com, and this sort of interface will be popped to you. And here at the bottom, you can click New Notebook. So this notebook which gets created is the place where we would be plumbing together all the pieces of technology that we have been discussing so far, be it in terms of OpenAI, Gradio, or LangChain, or Hugging Face. So this is the place where we would be plumbing together all the code, and we would be building our first generative AI application. And Google provides it for free of cost to a certain extent. And beyond that, if you need more capability of the CPUs, GPUs, or TPUs, again, you can purchase paid plans where you'd be getting a more powerful computer for you to kind of build your applications. But for the purpose of our demonstration or the application, the first application that you are going to build, I think the free version is is more than sufficient for us. Okay. So again, as we proceed further, very soon we would be using this Google Colab to kind of actually plumb together a lot of these tools, technologies, and frameworks in creating our first generative AI application. Okay. So we have understood about some of the technologies, tools, technologies, and frameworks that are essential in creating a generative AI application. Now let's get with starting to build the application in itself. So the application that we are going to build is something similar to character.ai. So if you are not aware of character.ai, I suggest you to open this website character.ai. So where there are multiple characters which have been designed. So it also consists of famous people like Elon Musk. So where the application is nothing but at the core there is a generative AI large language model, and there is a persona like Elon Musk which has been created, and you can actually chat with an Elon Musk avatar, and where the conversation feels as if real Elon Musk is actually replying to the questions that you are asking, while it's all avatar which has actually been created. So likewise, in this session, we would also be creating your own avatar where you can actually describe your own persona to the generative, the core large language model, and it can behave in the way you wish your application to behave. Okay, so let's get to building your first generative AI application, which is more similar to like a character.ai. Okay, so you are provided with a cheat sheet where you will find the Google Colab link for the project, and you can click on it. Okay, so once you click on it, you will be able to see something like this. Okay, there will be something called chatbot with OpenAI and LangChain .ipynb. Okay, so once you click on this Google Colab link, what you will do is click on the file button, file thing at the top left corner, and then there opens a menu. Within that, there is something called as save a copy in drive. So by clicking this, you are actually creating a copy of this notebook in your own Google Drive, which you can modify and you can play around with and all of it. Okay, so here you can see that towards the top right corner there is something called as connect. So you can click on this connect. So once you click on the connect, it actually Google Colab will actually allocate resources for this notebook. Okay, so as Google Colab does the job of meanwhile as it allocates resources for us, let's try to understand the first block of code. Okay, so we can see that resources have been allocated RAM as well as disk and CPU. So here the first block of code, as you can see that there is something called as install LangChain, install OpenAI, install Gradio, install Hugging Face Hub. Okay, so imagine it's something to be similar like a Android phone where you have a Play Store and you can install multiple apps. So here all we are saying is make all this LangChain, OpenAI, Gradio, Hugging Face Hub to be available in this notebook for further use in today's session. So here there is a play icon which you can click, so which actually executes all the commands which are present here. Do not bother about what's coming down here, all the text. Okay, so once all these commands have been executed, so the loading button over here stops and there will be a green tick which appears over here which says successful execution of the commands that we have given. So here in this part of code, all we are trying to see is that we want to install LangChain, OpenAI, Gradio and Hugging Face Hub so that we can use it as part of our further application building. And as you can see that it took 24 seconds to actually install all of this. Now let's get to the second part. Now that we have installed the applications, now we wanted to use the capability of each of these applications. So we want to, whenever we are mentioning import or from LangChain.chat models import, so all we are trying to say is that these applications have gotten a lot of capability. So whatever we have mentioned as import, so we are mentioning that we want to utilize capability within these apps as part of these applications. So now again I'm clicking it. Don't worry if you do not understand any of it, just try to get familiarized with it. Somebody who is already familiar with Python and all of it, maybe it will make more sense to you, but even if you do not understand, do not bother about it. Okay, just try to get familiar with the terminology. Okay, now so because we want to use OpenAI, which is a paid service, we need to get something called as API key for us to be able to use this as integrate this generative AI capability into our application. And for that to be done, so you need to click on this link which will actually take you to something called as OpenAI keys. Okay, so I'm deleting my previous one. Okay, and I'm just creating a new one. Okay, so my Gen AI, creating a new security key, and you need to copy before you click on done. You need to copy this. Okay, so copy it and make sure that you replace something OpenAI key equal to, within double quotes you paste whatever has been the key that gets generated. Okay, and after that is done, then you can click here done. Okay, so all you're trying to say is you are trying to access your own OpenAI account to kind of bring about the generative AI capability into your application. So once you are done with pasting the OpenAI key, you can just run this block of code, and once it is run, you can see the green tick which is over there, and then here you have something called as template. So this is where you describe about the persona of your assistant that we are about to create. Okay, so again we have provided with you a cheat sheet where you can we have provided you with multiple types of personas that you could actually use. So I have picked Ria, your enthusiastic personal assistant. So I'm copying this context, and instead of you are a helpful assistant to answer queries, I'll replace it with, and I'll describe about Ria. Okay, you can keep the rest of it to be the same. So here when we meant template, so all we are trying to do here is configure the input that goes into the large language model that which we are going to utilize. So here all we are trying to describe the persona of the experience that we want to have. So now that we have given it, now you are good to go run this as well. Okay, and you can see a green tick mark there. Okay, so we can actually also utilize a lot of these large language models from Hugging Face as well, which we'll discuss in the further sessions. For now, what we'll be doing is this is LLM chain is part of LangChain framework, and here you can see that large language model that we want to use is Chat OpenAI. Okay, so here we are also describing the model name to be GPT-3.5-turbo. So this is the model name that we want to utilize, and we can actually open this and open playground, and here you can see that below chat mode, so model, so there are a couple of models, GPT-3.5 turbo, or you can also use GPT-3.5-turbo-16K. So there are multiple models which you can utilize, but for now, for the scope of this application, we are using GPT-3.5 turbo 3.5 turbo is the model that we are using, and here as an LLM option we have provided it as chat OpenAI. So when you wish to kind of actually replace this OpenAI model with a open source model, then all you need to do is change this line to the model whichever you want. So for time being we would like to go ahead with OpenAI chat OpenAI model. Okay, so you can again play this button and you can see that the code got executed. So here all we are trying to do is get input from the user interface and actually pass it on to this language model and get the predicted output. Okay, so this is couple of lines of code for it, and here you can see the demo equal to gr.chat interface. Okay, so this is actually the Gradio code, and it's just one line, and you will see the magic of Gradio app in just few seconds. Okay, so here gr means Gradio. Okay, as you can see at the top we are saying import Gradio as gr. So because we do not want to write the full name, we are just going ahead with gr. Now it's time for us to kind of run this cell as well. As you can see, it got run. Now here you can see that demo dot launch off. Let's see what happens when we click this button. As you can see, the magic has already happened. So you can see a clear intuitive chat interface which got created, and all you did for this chat interface to get created was you used just one line of code to have this beautiful intuitive chat interface, which we can actually test it out. Suggest me a place to go for tourism in India during August. Okay, so we can just submit. This is the chat interface, chat application that we have already built with the persona. Okay, let's wait. Since we are actually using the free version of the product, so it might take some time to get the response because this tends to be a costly operation, and all these platforms prioritize paid users over free users. So sometimes it's normal to see delays in getting the response. So here you can see that your chatbot has actually gotten a response. Okay, so how about visiting the beautiful state of Himachal Pradesh in India during August? Now we can say that I don't like this place, suggest a new one. Okay, so just we can keep chatting with this application, and you have actually integrated generative AI capability into the application that you have built. Okay, so now it's time for us to actually publish our application to Hugging Face. Okay, let's get to understand how do we go about proceeding with it. Okay, so here we have also provided you with the code to actually publish your application to Hugging Face. Okay, so run this, and it has showcased you asking you to enter a token, and you can get this token from the link which has already been highlighted. Okay, so you just copy it, and once you copy it, go here and copy and paste this token and click login. Okay, so you are now logged into Hugging Face from this notebook, and next execute the next cell. Okay, it is also executed. So now Hugging Face is asking for a repo ID where your application has to be deployed. Okay, so here you can come to Hugging Face and you can click on spaces, and once you click on spaces you can create a new space. You can just say that Gradio LangChain chatbot. Okay, and you can keep whatever name that you wish to. So because we want to deploy a Gradio application, you can click Gradio. Okay, and you can make it public so that you can make it available for everyone to use. And now you are just click space, create space. So now your space got created. It's time for you to actually publish your application here. So for that you need to copy your repo ID. Towards the top you can see that Rahul Attuluri / Gradio LangChain and all of this, and towards the last you can see a copy icon. So I just copied my repo ID. Okay, and between the double quotes you need to paste this, and once you're done with pasting you can run this cell. And now it's time for us to actually allow Hugging Face to access our OpenAI. So for that to happen we need to actually configure the OpenAI key in our space. So for that you need to open your space, click the settings button, and then you need to go down. Here there is something called as variables and secrets. So now you need to create your new secret. Okay, so we need to copy, so we want to have this OpenAI key. Okay, so we are pasting the OpenAI key as the name and value. So whatever has been whatever is here, so we'll copy it. Okay, and we'll actually paste it. Okay, save it. Okay, so you have created a new secret. So now that you are done with it, so you can go to the app, click on app, and go back to the Google Colab. Okay, So come down to the publishing part of the code. So now that you are done with adding your secret, it's time to run the next command. Okay. So once this is done, the last piece of this will actually actually publish your code to Hugging Face. Okay, and here you can see that the moment you published it over there, so you can see that your application is building now. Okay, and you can clear or close this. So as soon as the application gets built, it will enter into running mode, and that's when you will be able to see the application that you have deployed to Hugging Face. So now you can see that your application is running, and you can see the interface, the most intuitive chat interface that you have created with just one line of code. And now again, once again, you can try testing it. Suggest two good places in Hyderabad. Okay, and you can just click on submit. As I said, sometimes it can be slow because you are using a free trial, and it will because of the amount of resources that are needed. So the chances are likely that they would prioritize a paid customer over a free customer. But for our use case, I think this is fairly decent. So again, you got a response, so you can actually clear, or you can actually undo or retry, and you have gotten all of this beautiful functionality with just one line of code. Now it's time for us to actually integrate our this application into our own website. Okay, so here click on the right side. So there is settings, and to the right there is a three dots. So if you go further, there is something called as embed this space. Okay, so here Gradio app source equal to you have something like this. Okay, so now we want to actually use this chatbot into our own website. So for that, okay, you can go to learning platform, and learning platform you can click on the code playground. So once you get here, okay, within the cheat sheet which will be provided to you, okay, within the cheat sheet that will be provided to you, so there are snippets of HTML code, CSS code, JavaScript code. Okay, so you can copy this and paste it into respective blocks within this code playground, and you can modify a few things like your name and the kind of persona that you would like to give yourself, and you can add description of your project and all this stuff. And once you actually go down, go towards the down, so here you can see something like this line, Gradio app src equal to, and all of this. So here this is the location where actually you need to paste your application URL. Okay, so we'll just go to Hugging Face. Okay, so here I'm actually copying my application that I have created now. Okay, and I'm pasting it the URL here, and then you can save it and you can publish it. And once you publish it, okay, so you can open it to see. Okay, right, so this is how you integrated this chatbot into your own website now. And again, once again, you can test it with whatever text that you want to. So I think we are done with deploying our first generative AI application. I think and again, once again, you can test it with whatever text that you want to. So I think we are done with deploying our first generative AI application. I think we have utilized all the things that we have learned so far, and huge kudos to all of you for building your own generative AI application, where you have learned about nuts and bolts of technologies, tools, and frameworks that are involved in creating a generative AI application. While it's a smaller one, I think it's a good start, which gives a great head start for you, like 6 months or 7 months or 1 year of more of a head start for you to actually in the journey of you progressing towards generative. What generative AI is capable of, and what it takes to build a generative AI application, and what it takes to build a LLM. Now let's make it little further interesting. Okay, so now it's high time that because you have built your first application, it's time to kind of publish and showcase it on multiple platforms, be it on platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram, or whatever the platforms that you use on a day-to-day basis. I think it gives a lot of boost for us in terms of the time that we have spent, and the kind of learning that you had in short span of time. And I'm sure that when you get to interviews, this will be the one project which you would be cherishing for one of your first project, and there will be a lot more for you to discuss what you have learned, and there would be a lot more people who would be excited about your learning as well. Okay, and I think it will also become you can also highlight in terms of how you are able to kind of create a project right from scratch, in just 3 hours of time, right? Starting to learn from zero level and build an application. So it's high time that you pat on yourself for the kind of commitment that you have, and the kind of how far you have come in your journey in such a short span of time. And I think as we progress further in the journey, I think there are many such things that have been planned for you, where you would be going on breadth on various other newer technologies, cutting edge technologies, and you would also be going a lot more deeper. And one thing that you need to remember is that, while you would be learning the cutting edge things, it's also important for you to be strong with the fundamentals, be it in terms of programming or be it in terms of web fundamentals. So the fundamentals are fundamentals and cutting edge technologies, when you blend together, I think that's where the superpower comes from. So you need to be thorough with your fundamentals, and at the same time you also need to be catching up with the cutting edge things that are happening. And it's our job to ensure that you stay ahead in the curve. And all you need to do is whenever we conduct such workshops, just show up and get yourself familiarized with whatever the things that we teach to you, and keep sharing whatever you are learning with a broader set of community, and signal that you are far ahead than your peers, as well as you are far ahead in the journey compared to more than 99% of the developers. I think you have a great head start. Okay, so and do not worry, there is in our cheat sheet, so a lot of the generative AI applications that we have showcased so far, as well as the kind of tools that we are using, and the Google Collab links, and all of it will be provided as part of the cheat sheets. So you can go through them again and again, and you can play around with, and keep experimenting, keep exploring. Okay, so now let's try to make our generative AI application even more interesting. So let's try to integrate voice cloning into our application. Okay, so voice cloning, as I have said earlier in the session, so it's primarily about for example, today now I'm speaking you and taking you the session. So assume if I were to give few of my voice samples to this voice cloning technology, so it will be able to replicate my own voice by whenever you give a text, it will be able to create a speech which almost sounds like as if I am speaking. Okay, so that's the power of voice cloning technology. I think use it with a caution. So use your own voice, and there is a lot of care that you need to this is a lot of power, so you need to use it with a lot of care. So voice cloning is one service which has been which is being provided by a platform called as PlayHD, and we'll look into it how do we go about create our own voice clone, and how can we integrate it into an application and make it a lot more interesting. I think so this is just the beginning of what's possible with generative AI. So I think there is a lot more deeper that we would be going across, and it's not just about generative AI, but there are a lot of cutting edge things that are happening in the industry. I think as you proceed further, we would be hosting many such workshops where you'd be able to learn a lot of things in such a short span of time. You'd be building your applications, you'd be receiving a certificate, and you'll be building a project which actually differentiates or creates, puts you in a unique position, and which you will also have a great head start compared to others, 7 months or 12 months sort of a head start compared to others. Okay, now let's get to actually integrating this voice cloning into our application. Okay, so again, I'm going to the browser, and now let's open something called as PlayHD. So once you create a free account in PlayHD, okay, and once you log in and get into the website, so you would be seeing an interface like this. So then you can click on something called as voice cloning, and here you can click on create a new clone. Because I have already created my new clone using the free trial, so I'm not provided with the option. But the first time you are creating a voice clone, so you will be provided with an option to upload 30 seconds to 1 minute of your voice recording in English. And basis that, so once you upload your voice profile, actually there are two models, high fidelity. Again, if you go for an paid access, I think the voice quality it would generate would be far ahead. But because it is being offered as free, the quality of voice cloning might not be great. But I think nonetheless, I think it's a good or decent start, I would say, to kind of play around with technology. So I have already created my clone, voice clone. And I think for building this application, I think we have already provided you with another Google Collab link. Okay, so which also starts with name chatbot with OpenAI, LangChain, and PlayHD. Okay, so this is another Google Collab link that we have provided. I think we almost need to follow similar steps like we have done previously, but there are minor changes because we are now integrating PlayHD as well. So you also need to add few keys related to PlayHD. Okay, let's start with installing all the apps. Okay, I'm sorry. I think the first thing that we need to do is file. Save a copy in Drive. Okay, so this will create a your own copy of the notebook, and once you have it, you can click on connect, and then you can start installing the apps that we want to use. And once the installation process is done, then again, as we discussed earlier, so we would also be trying to pick some components within those apps to be implemented in this specific application. Okay, do not worry if you are new to programming or if you do not understand any of it. I think the objective is to familiarize yourself with, like, the kind of possibilities and with how little amount of code you'd be able to create valuable applications, and you also to familiarize with a lot of tools and technologies in that domain. So if you're already good with coding and if you're already familiar with all of it, kudos, you can start building a lot more complex applications. But if you're new to programming, do not worry. I think you are lucky to be learning all such things at the start itself. Okay. And so now we are done with installation, and now we are done with importing all the necessary things. And again, here also we need to get our OpenAI key. So I would like to kind of pick it from the previous code that we have already have written. So I would like to copy this key from here. Okay. So I'm replacing it here. And for Play HD also we need to get API key and user ID. So you can get it from this link. Okay, so user ID, you can click on copy, and then you can go to your notebook and paste the user ID here, and then you also need to get the secret key. Again, you can copy it, and again you can paste it here, and then you can run on this cell. So it has been done. Then I'm clicking on this. Okay, so now we also need to get our voice clone ID. So for that you need to click on this link. And once you click, something like this opens. So here towards the right there is header, and below it you would be seeing something like this authorization and X user ID. So as you can see here in the instructions, it is mentioned that you need to copy this bearer followed by your API key. Okay, we would follow the same steps. Okay, bearer followed by we will copy the API key. Okay, and next you need to enter the user ID. Okay, so here we are copying the user ID. Sorry, let me do it again. So once you're done entering, click on the try it button. And here you can see that there is something called as ID, and between the quotes there is some URL that you need to copy. Okay, so copy it, and you need to replace this Play HD voice ID here. Okay, so it starts with S3 and ends with manifest.json. So once you're done with copying it, you can click on executing the cell. And again, here you have the template where you need to modify it to as per your own taste or persona that you want to create. So for the timing, I'm not changing that. Okay, and now as you can see, the LLM chain code which remains almost the same. Okay, and below there are few lines of code which are more related to getting the text from generative AI and passing it on to Play HD to kind of create the voice out of it. So I'm just executing this. There is nothing much that you need to change here. You can just keep executing them. Okay, and here as you can see towards the last there is this radio interface. Now we can actually launch this application and see. Okay, so again we can ask the same question. Suggest 3 places in Delhi to visit during a family tour. Okay, so since this application involves getting leveraging generative AI large language models to predict text, as well as creating speech from this text, it might take a little longer considering we are on the free models that we are using. So once it gets generated, let's wait to hear the speech that it generates. So as you have seen that it took a while, but you finally got the response. Let's play it. Sure. Here are 3 popular places to visit in Delhi during a family tour. 1. Red Fort. built in the 17th century. The Red Fort is an UNESCO World Heritage. So while it's not my exact clone, but you can see that you can understand that it tried to emulate my voice profile. Okay, so you have seen now you had added a lot more add-on in terms of adding this voice cloning to your application. And now let's get to how do you go about publishing it to again to Hugging Face. And I think the steps would remain more or less the same. So again you click on here to kind of get the token, copy it, and again paste the token and login. Okay, so once you're done with the login, so you play this, and again here you need to get a new project. So again go here, spaces, create a new space. Okay, so we can say something like a voice bot or something like that. Okay, some Gen AI voice bot. Okay, and because we are creating a radio application, you select that and you can click create space. So once your space gets created, so you can copy this in the top left corner. Okay, and you can copy it and paste it here. Okay, and because we have been using OpenAI key, PlayHD API key, PlayHD user ID, PlayHD voice ID, so I think it's important for us to add all these secrets in Hugging Face. So go to settings, okay, and go to this variables and secrets, create new secret, and now let's start all the secrets, API keys that we have been using and other keys, let's copy and paste them. Okay, OpenAI, and okay, save. Next we need to create PlayHD API key. Next PlayHD user ID. And there is fourth one, which is PlayHD voice ID. New secret. Okay, you can copy this. Okay, so we are done with adding all the secrets. Okay, so yeah, you can run this till Hugging Face repo ID, and then you can run these lines, and then you can also run this thing. So as you run them, once it gets run, so your application is now in the building process. So as you can see that application is getting built. Okay, so once your application gets built, you can see it here with the UI that we have actually created. So yeah, it's created. So we'll just say hello. Okay, we'll play it. Hello, how can I assist you today? So as you can see that you have already deployed your application to Hugging Face, and you know how to embed this space into your own web application as well. Okay, so once again congratulations for all of you, because you have also built your second application where you have actually added voice capability to your application with your own voice profile as well. So this is your own avatar. While this is just the beginning, but I think nonetheless this is a great start. Okay, I urge you to keep playing around with all the things that you have learned. And as a bonus, we would also be as we go further into the session, so into the next set of workshops, so we would also be teaching you something called as Wave to Live. So where more than I explaining it, I think you should watch this demo.
तुम्हें क्या लगता है कि इलॉन मस्क ट्विटर के साथ अच्छा क्या कर रहे हैं? और जैसे कि एक व्यक्ति जो काफ़ी समय से सोशल नेटवर्क्स जैसे कि फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम, व्हाट्सएप चला रहा है, उन्हें क्या बेहतर करना चाहिए? वो उस मूल्यवान टेक्स्ट आधारित सोशल नेटवर्क पर क्या सुधार कर सकते हैं?
बाहरी दृष्टिकोण से विशेष आलोचनाओं को प्रदान करना हमेशा काफी कठिन होता है, क्योंकि मेरे अनुभव के अनुसार हर कोई आपको सलाह देता है कि आपको क्या करना चाहिए, जबकि कंपनी को चलाते हुए बाहर से स्पष्ट नहीं होने वाली कुछ विशेष बातें दिखाई देती हैं। और मैं अक्सर सोचता हूं कि हमारे चारों ओर होने वाली बातचीत हमें बेहतर बना सकती है।
Okay, as you can see here that we all know that Mark Zuckerberg can't speak in Hindi, but as you when you watch the video, it feels like as if he was really speaking in Hindi, right? So the lips are syncing in such a way that it actually aligns with whatever the Hindi language that is coming over there. And you can also you must have also realized that the voice cloning has been happened with Mark Zuckerberg voice, but in for Hindi language, right? So there are this video has been generated using a combination of technologies, and one of the interesting pieces here is about the lip sync technology, so which actually syncs the lips basis the speech or the audio that gets generated. So we'll in further workshops we'll also learn how do we utilize this wave to lip to actually sync your video lips to actual voice that is getting generated. Okay, so I think so far in this workshop we have learned right from zero. We have understood what are the possibilities of generative AI applications. We also tried to understand a bit more into LLMs, and what are the different tools and technologies that are involved in building an application. And we have also actually built an application, deployed it to Hugging Face, and we have embedded the application again into our own website as well. And I think so for the ones who actually try building the application and deploy and showcase and do that, we also want to reward you with one of the most exciting technologies, which is called as vector databases. I believe a lot of you must have heard about databases like Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, or some of these NoSQL databases, but I'm sure most of you might not have heard about vector databases. And I think the same is the case with more than 99% of the general developer community, irrespective of the kind of experience they already have. So I think vector databases is an interesting technology in the domain of generative AI, which can actually enhance the generative AI application, make it even more powerful and make it even more exciting. So in the further workshops, we will also be teaching you about this vector databases, which is again the state of the art. But we want to make it we want to make sure that each of you actually enjoy building the generative application. So for those who actually are passionate about and who are enthusiastic about building this generative application, so we want to reward them more by empowering them more, and that's where we want to make this accessible to the students who actually build application and showcase. Okay, so this is one assignment that you need to ensure that you get access to these vector databases. Okay, and again small steps. Okay, so as the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So I think as long as we are making progress in the right direction, however small steps it could be, I think as long as we are in the right direction, by the time you look back, you are already ahead by multiple steps. By attending this workshop and staying till here and learning and picking all these things, I think you are already far ahead in the journey of making yourself great by embracing generative AI technology and becoming a super developer. And as said